guys, Camille Lambert, field agronomist for Beck's Hybrids. I am out scouting some wheat post-freeze today, and so I thought I would give you some tips so that when you go out to scout, you know exactly what to look for. So the first thing that you need to make sure that you have is a utility blade or utility knife. Most pocket knives just aren't sharp enough to be able to properly dissect a head, especially if it's still in the stem. And then the second thing you'll need is a hand lens or a microscope or just something to really get close and be able to look for freeze damage. So when I'm out scouting wheat that is headed right after a freeze, you want to make sure the first thing is that you wait several days after the freeze event. So temperatures that are warmer and about a week after the freeze event to properly be able to evaluate. So when I was out scouting this headed wheat field, the first thing that I went to look for are the awns on the top. So some people call this the beard, but the first sign of freeze injury on wheat that is headed is a frosted tip. But you want to look for the bleached awns, and that is a sign that you may have injury. So I found a couple different stages of this wheat here. So this one was further along, as you can tell. This one has come out quite a bit, but we do not have any bleaching at the tip. And then this head is just now emerging from the stem. And so it was more protected during that freeze event. So the first sign of injury is to look for those bleached awns. The next thing that I want to do is to actually pull these heads apart. And there are a couple things that you need to look for, and this is where a hand lens really comes in handy. So when I pull this apart here, the wheat plant will actually self-pollinate, and so you've got male parts and female parts, and so you want to pull it back and look at the anthers, and they kind of look like little green bananas. And if they're nice, firm, so turgid, you know that they are still alive. But if they are white to yellow and shrivelly, then you know that you have killed those anthers and that that part of the plant has become sterile. The next thing that you want to look for is the stamen, and that is like a little fluffy cotton ball, and it's right in there beside the anthers, and you want to make sure that it's nice and fluffy and white and not shriveled up. So those are some things to look for in wheat that has headed out. And I'm also going to show you guys how to dissect a plant that the head is still inside the stem to look for injury. When you get ready to dissect your head out of the stem, the first thing that you want to do is pull back the outer leaves from that stem. That way you have a little bit easier working area. The next thing is to find that joint, the highest joint up, and your head will be right above that. So you can usually feel for it right above in that stem. And once you find the head, you can take your utility knife and cut about an inch above the head. So I usually like to cut right below that highest joint as well, just so it's a little bit easier to work with. So once you do that, then you can take your utility knife and cut about 1/2 of an inch right through the center at the top. And that makes it a lot easier to start to pull back the stem to expose your head. You want to make sure you're really careful that you don't further injure the head so that you can get an accurate estimation of the damage to the head. So you just slowly want to unravel the stem to expose that head. And once you have the head exposed, you want to look for a nice turgid or firm head. It should be green, maybe a little translucent in color. But it should look very healthy. You don't want to see yellow or limp looking head. You'll start to see a little bit of shriveling within the head if there is damage. And if your plant's further along, you can pull those little awns back or the beard back. And you can look for the anthers, and they're like 3 little green bananas, and they should be nice and firm in color. You might need to get a hand lens to examine closer, but that's what's going to pollinate the plant later, so we want to make sure that we keep that protected. So the next thing is to make sure that you do this to several different plants throughout the field. You want to have a really good representation of the extent of the damage that you're working with and check out a lot of those heads within the stem. It's kind of a tedious job and it takes a little bit of time, but this will give you a better estimate of if you can predict some yield loss. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. If you'd like more videos like this one from me, you can text Lambert to 733-337 for more agronomy updates. Thanks!